Welcome to the Half Hour to Health. Okay, I like this. Now, this is out of an older book. People are still reading it, though. It's still pretty popular. People are destroyed from a lack of knowledge. Boy, that accurate. Now, have you ever heard, first off, headaches. We're talking about headaches and migraines. Is that a big problem? Well, according to Business Week, $13 billion a year. Now, they say just on treating migraines, $1 billion a year. But now, that seems like quite a lot. How are they treating it? Well, first off, what's a headache? We're going to go over anatomy and physiology a little bit, because if we understand that we're genetically designed to be healthy, only 10% of the nerves that emanate or come out of this body transmit pain. That means 90% of the body's function is on health. Only 10% is aware of it. Now, this brain is phenomenally important. And what they're talking about headaches, that means brain pain, where your brain's hurting. Well, let's look at this. Now, if you look at the actual anatomy of the brain, frontal lobe, parietal lobe, occipital lobe, the most important aspect of this is how it's structured. Each area of the brain has different functions. Now, have you ever heard that sometimes football players can have violent reactions? Have you ever heard that before? Okay, do you think it's the steroids? Or if you've ever had trauma to the front of the brain, frontal lobe is responsible for emotional inhibition. So if you've had multiple head traumas or boxing traumas, there might be some emotional aspects to it, but that could be a physiologic change. So understand that this area keeps you alive. If it's throbbing in pain, should we cover up those symptoms? No, that doesn't sound real effective in health. But let's look at some specific areas. First off, all of this area goes on perception, or tells you about what's going on with your environment. Like right now, if I was to take Minnie and sit her on an iceberg, okay, I love her, I wouldn't do it, and her husband would kill me. But what her body would do, it would shut down blood vessels to the extremities. It would shut off. So her toes got so cold that they'd break and fall off. Her fingers would break and fall off. Is that an intelligent response to being stuck on an iceberg? Yeah, because it keeps her core temperature alive and keeps the body alive. So what that means is that this brain functions by getting responses from the environmental stimulus. Okay, that's how it gauges health. One of the most important areas of the brain is this brain stem area. Now, the brain stem actually extends down to the top portion of the neck. Now, the reason I'm bringing up anatomy and physiology is because any pressure on this brain stem area, look what it controls. Autonomic functions. This means the automatic functions. It controls heart rate, blood pressure, limb movement, visceral functions. This means digestion, food processing, immune system functions are all controlled by this one particular area here. So if that area of the spinal cord and brain are affected, it massively decreases your life. Okay, so if this area is not working correctly, heart rate, blood pressure, immune system function, digestive function, does that seem important? Okay, so now, let's say that headaches and migraines are sensors. Okay, it's like the red light on the dashboard that tells you that there's a problem. Does that make sense? Okay, it does. Now, the fact are, let's look where headaches come from. 93% are serogenic. It means they come from the neck. This includes tension headaches. It includes most sinus headaches. It includes what are called referred trigger point headaches. All of those are the most common. Now, about 7% of headaches come from toxicities. Now, these are old numbers. Right now, what we're seeing, toxicities, drugs, dehydration, this is actually getting more and more and more popular. Now, there's solutions for those two types. Less than 0.1% are from tumors. But we're finding out now that this is a percentage that's rising. Okay, and I'm going to show you why it's rising and what population is rising, because I'm actually in the population that happens to be getting a lot of brain tumors. No, it's not from watching TV, so Mom was wrong. Okay, but what happens is, between 1955 and 1963, they came out with a polio shot, and it was actually an infected polio shot. Now, we talk about polio shots and vaccinations in detail when we go over the vaccine lecture, and I do mention that in that time frame, they had an infected batch. What that means is, have you ever grown a vaccine? Well, what happens is, on vaccines, you actually need living tissue. Now, the polio virus grows really, really well in rhesus monkey tissue, and that's what they used at the time. The problem is those monkey kidneys, where they grew the virus, was loaded with viruses. And one of them happened to be the SV40 virus, which is a simian virus or monkey virus. Now, in the 90s, Michelle Cairborn, professor of pathology, she found out that the SV40 virus was in most cancerous tumors. And this happens to be in brain, lung tumors, bone cancers, but it's between 40 and 60% of mesotheliomas. The people who live in Massachusetts and Illinois who received the hot lots, those are the group that had the highest ratio of the simian virus, the SV40 virus, they have 10 times the amount of osteosarcomas, brain tumors, than people who got the non-contaminated version. But just know that if you were in this age group, and I'm one of those people that were in this age group, that you are at risk. Now, what's the solution for this? Is a strong immune system. If you have a strong immune system, you will not get the brain tumor or other pathology. But this is huge because now here, Italian researchers, because this was back 40 years ago, what they found out was, though, that there's populations that are getting this monkey virus transmitted. Now, this sounds kind of like a bad science episode where they make a polio shot, okay, they infect the mom, and then it spreads throughout. In fact, they just did a movie on that with Will Smith. What was the name of that movie? What was it? No. I Am Legend. Yeah. Yeah, where they did a vaccine and it ended up creating a mutant. Well, this has mutated. Okay, right now, they're looking that the SV40 virus is now transferred in the blood tissue. Now, this doesn't have a lot to do with headaches except for the tumor growth. But I found this out today, okay, that it is being transmitted. So the only way to protect yourself from these type of cancers caused by the polio shot that was 40 years ago, okay, is to keep a strong immune system. And luckily, that's one of the solutions for headaches. Now, I love this. Headache drugs can actually give you a headache. Now, this is out of the Journal of Head and Face Pain. Now, remember, the brain's important. It's so important that it governs every function of your body. It controls all the autonomic functions. Now, you're going to see a lot of solutions for headaches, but I don't put one thing in here that you should take: an aspirin, a Tylenol, an Advil, a Motrin, an Imitrex, a Vicodin. There's a few more names that I'm forgetting there, but to take a pain reliever that covers up the symptoms is illogical. You wouldn't let a dentist treat you this way, so why should we take the control center? Yes, miss, you have a rotted tooth here. Take this pain reliever, you'll be fine. You'd fire the dentist, wouldn't you? Yeah, so would I.